Hi folks, I'm Megan and this is Fireside Farms. Today I wanted to go over what I'm growing in my garden this year for the spring and summer garden 2022. I'm gardening in zone 8A in southwest New Mexico. I live in the desert. It is the high desert, so our altitude is, I don't remember the exact amount. A little above 4,000 feet, I believe. It's currently April 4th, and I have already started all my seedlings. I'm waiting to transplant out my tomatoes and peppers and such until the nightly forecasts get a little warmer. For my area, they're forecasting in the low 40s, but I live a bit farther out in the country. I'm usually 5 to 10 degrees colder than what they forecast in the city. So it's still a bit too cold. My tomatoes are getting really big and they need to go. A little history, I bought this home in 2020 and took a couple months getting the house together, getting the yard together, and then built the gardens. I believe that winter was my first garden here. So I've been gardening here for about a year and a half. I did not grow a whole lot of varieties last year. I am definitely growing way more this year, more than I can fit in my garden, but my goal is to grow this farm as quickly as possible, as efficiently and cheaply as possible as well. So a lot of the varieties that I'm going to show you guys, I don't have a lot of history with. I don't know how they grow here, but the ones that I did grow last year, I will let you know what did well in my area and why, what didn't do well, and a couple things that didn't do well I'm going to try again, just because I don't want to one-off them. Because I do grow in the desert, some of my seeds are tailored for arid climates, but I don't restrict myself to that. I'll let you know which seed companies I got them from. I'll also list them down below in the show notes afterwards. And most of the flowers, which are a lot, that I started this year, I did not try last year. I didn't grow a lot of ornamentals last year, but this year I am finally working on my front yard because I really focused on getting the food going last year, and now I'm working on making the property look more like I want it to. So let's get started with the most important thing in my garden, which are peppers. So I only grew 3 types of peppers last year. Yeah, 3. I'm growing a lot more this year. Oh no, I grew 4. One of them didn't do very well. Okay, so the ones that I am doing again is, I'll see if you guys can see this. The shishito pepper did so well in my garden last year. So well, so prolific, excellent. You just pick them green like this, and some of them are hot. I think it says 1 in 10 is hot. Maybe. It's not really something to worry about. If you don't like hot things, you'll find out when you bite into it, and it's going to be maybe the only one of the ones you harvested that day, so it's not that big a deal. But just harvest them green like this, throw them in a pan with some butter, olive oil, salt and pepper. So good, so good. Another one I grew last year, this Thai hot pepper. So good. Hugely prolific. So I had started like 4 of these last year, and I put them out too early, and I think it got too cold that they just stunted and did not do well, so I ended up pulling them up, but one survived, and it grew so many little peppers. It supplied peppers, just that one plant, for the entire year for us, and I had so many left over that I dried and made several spice jars of Thai peppers. So very, very prolific, perfect for container gardening, and even just one plant will do your family good. So this is awesome. I will always grow this. I will always grow shishitos. This one I grew last year, the Georgia Flame. It was good. It's a good pepper. It wasn't as hot as I thought it was going to be, and I really like spicy peppers. Some of them got really hot, especially towards the end of the summer when, you know, it was almost 100 or over 100 every single day. Then they started to get a little bit of heat that I liked, but other than that, especially at the beginning of the season, they weren't that great. I am growing a couple again just to see if maybe I had an off year, but otherwise, if they don't get too hot this year, I probably won't grow them again. But they did produce very well. So if this is something you're interested in, give it a try. Also, all three of these peppers, I had purchased last year, the year before last. They're packaged for 2021. They all germinated just fine. They're all from Seed Savers Exchange, if you can see that. They're all from Seed Savers, and I had above 90% germination on everything this year, so good seeds. The next round of seeds, well, they're from everywhere. Scratch that. I also tried a bell pepper last year. It did not do very well, but I don't think it was the bell pepper's fault. Pretty sure it was 100% my fault. It usually is. So I'm trying them again this year. Great germination on both the chocolate and the canary. These are from two different companies. This is Seed Savers, this is Baker Creek. So I'm trying these again. I didn't get any bell peppers last year. I can't tell you how they're gonna do. All new peppers to me this year. The Pimiento de Padrón. Pimiento de Padrón. Yeah. I don't know anything about this. It says it's supposed to be hot. I didn't have great germination on these. I think I had one or two come up. Again, not blaming it on the seed. Baker Creek has been really, really good to me. All of their seeds are top quality. So I think I'm just gonna sow more seeds because why not? Banana peppers, really good germination on these. I'm trying these. Everyone knows what banana peppers are. I'm very excited to preserve these. The Jalafuegos, if you can, there you go. Jalafuegos, I picked these up in a box store, Lowe's or Home Depot or something. I had like 0 germination on these. So I don't want to blame it on the seed. They're brand new, they're packaged for 2022. They may have had a bad transit because it's a box store, I don't know. I'm thinking about just taking this entire seed packet and throwing it in a raised bed, but we'll see. And last pepper I'm growing is the Bikino pepper. I have not tried this one. I've eaten them, but I have not tried to grow it. I don't know anything about it. But aren't they cute? They're little tiny little, look adorable. Okay, so next, tomatoes. By the way, all of these peppers do really, really well here. In the heat, they can be finicky about the cold, so if you have a cold spring, I would suggest to wait until the nighttime temperatures warm up to like above 50 degrees, and it's definitely warm during the day before you transplant them out, because getting too cold, like below 50 for long periods of time, can stunt them. And that's what happened to me last year. And they did produce, but they didn't produce very well until very late in the season. So just, if it's a little cold outside, even when you're transplanting out your tomatoes or your other plants, if it's still a little chilly, just give it another week or two for the peppers and really wait until it warms up outside, and that way you can get peppers earlier and more of them. So, tomatoes. So, my favorite tomato that I had last year was the Mexico Midget. It is a cherry tomato variety. It did so well and it produced so much. Good flavor. I loved it. It was good. I'm growing it again. The gold medal tomato I also grew last year. The flavor is really, really, really good. These are especially good to eat with just some olive oil, salt, and pepper. But they didn't produce very much, at least for me. Not saying that they do that normally, but I only got a few tomatoes off of them. So when I did get one, it was super delicious, but the plant took up a lot of space for not a lot of product. So I am growing 1 or 2 of these. If they perform the same this year, I probably won't be growing them again. Another tomato I grew last year was the German pink. Opposite of the gold medal, these are both slicers, by the way. Opposite of the gold medal, the flavor wasn't that great on this one, but it produced well. So we're giving both of these a run again this year. Yeah. But I don't know if we're gonna keep growing them. Some new tomatoes that I'm super excited about this year are Thorburns Terracotta and the Paul Robeson. I have never grown these before, but I have heard amazing things from other YouTubers and bloggers about them, so we're trying them. This guy, Amish paste. I don't know about this one yet. Everything about this plant, from starting it in seed, starting the seed until now, has been miserable. Hold on. Y'all, I know my tomatoes are too big. I don't know what happened. I started them 6 weeks ago after Valentine's Day, and they need to go outside and it's still too cold. They'll be fine. Anyways, so this is an Amish paste. It's very wispy. The entire time it was growing, I was concerned because this was the only variety that was doing this, so I did some research. I didn't really get any scientifically definitive answers other than it's a wispier, other than it's a wispier variety tomato plant. So that's a little weird. I don't hate it, but it's really bad in the wind. Just hardening these guys off has been terrible. I've already had one that fell off of my grow shelf and just snapped in half. So I don't know how they're gonna do up. I don't know how they're going to do in the garden because I live in a really windy site. And even though I tie up my tomatoes, these branches I'm worried are just gonna from the sun than all of my other tomato varieties. And I really ought to Google it. I need to do my research and see if they're a little bit more finicky than other varieties, because there are, you know, finickier varieties of plants. And this just might not do well in my heat and my wind. So we're gonna test it out because I wanted to try out a good paste tomato for canning. This is another, come on. This is another cherry tomato variety I'm growing. Super excited about this one. I've never grown it before, but I've heard very good things. So far, good germination. They've grown a lot slower than my other varieties. I don't know if that's me or the plant, so we'll have to see. Not a tomato, but in the family, I am growing Aunt Molly's ground cherries. So I'm growing 3 different types of squash this year. I did try to grow these 2 last year, the Delicata and the Rondinise. I failed miserably. I started them too late when they started taking off, all of the other plants around them were large already, so they were getting shaded out. And then it was late in the season, they still hadn't grown enough, and the squash bugs decimated all of my plants. So I'm gonna try it again this year. I had planned to start them early in pea pots. I did not do that. C'est la vie. I'm also trying the honey nut. I've heard good things about this one. I'm trying watermelon this year. I got this one called Desert King. It says it's a drought resistant type, so it's good for desert climates. I forgot to mention this tomato variety. It's called Golden Jubilee. I picked this up at a big box store as well and had 0 germination. That's why I'm not mentioning it, because I'm not growing it. A couple things I grew last year, which I'm growing again, amaranth. So this was actually a really, really cool crop to grow. Not only was it beautiful, but I had grown it with the intention of harvesting the grains, the seeds from it, and I did, and it was super awesome to do. So I will have to do a video of that again this year. Also, I'm growing quinoa. Hopefully, both germinated and I have starts of those, so I'm going to plant them out, and hopefully I will get to harvest amaranth and quinoa to eat this year and do a video of it. I'm also growing amaranth, the green form. You can eat the leaves of this one too. I didn't. But this is grown for the leaves, and it is heat and drought tolerant. So this is a summer lettuce variety that I can grow in the warmer months when I normally couldn't grow anything else, except for Malabar spinach. This I grew last year. It did well. I grew it in kind of a shady spot, so I'm gonna grow it in a sunnier spot and see if it does better this year. Both of these are good substitute greens to grow in the summer if you live in a warmer climate when normal lettuce would just bolt. See, right now, April, it's already in the low 80s, sometimes in the upper 80s depending on the day. So it's already pretty warm, and my lettuce will soon bolt, the ones that I have outside in the garden. Cucumbers, they did, here, come on. I'm also growing 2 types of cucumbers. The Market More cucumber, this did pretty well last year. I think it's gonna do better this year because I have a shade cloth that's going over it. It did get a little finicky towards the July and August. I'm also, I don't know where the seed packet is, but I'm also growing cucamelons, Mexican sour gherkins. Very excited about those. I'll talk about them if I find the seed packet. So now all the flowers that I'm growing, guys. Found it. I'm growing these guys. I'm trellising them. Super excited. I am attempting an in-ground garden for the first time this year. Most of my garden is raised beds, and I'll give a garden tour in a separate video. But in the in-ground garden, I'm trying 2 different types of corn. A popcorn variety, which I'm really excited about, and a sweet corn variety. The way that corn works is normally if 2 plants, like say 2 peppers, were to cross-pollinate in the same season, they would still produce the same peppers that year, and only the seeds of those peppers would produce the hybrid of the cross. But with corn, that occurs that same year. So if I were to plant these at the same time and they were to reach maturity, at the same time, then they could possibly have kernels in each other's ears. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. If they were to reach maturity at the same time and they get cross-pollinated, I could end up with an ear of sweet corn that's half popcorn kernels. Do you get what I'm saying? So normally with plants, you wouldn't see that until the following year from the seeds of that cross-pollinated fruit. But with corn, it occurs the same year. So I can't plant these at the same time. What I'm gonna do is, because this takes longer, it has to dry on the cob, and then I harvest it. So I'm gonna plant these first, and I'm gonna plant these about 2 to 3 weeks afterwards, and that way they'll reach maturity at different times, and there just shouldn't be an issue of cross-pollination. But we're gonna see, because it's new and we're just gonna try it. 2 beans I'm growing this year. This is the Scarlet Runner bean, which I'm trying for the first time. I don't know anything about this other than I hear it does pretty well in hot climates. Oh wait, I'm growing 3 types of beans. I don't have a picture of this. I believe I got it from Baker Creek, but you can just Google Blau Hill bean. I'm sure multiple seed companies have it. But these are seeds that I saved from last year. I grew this. I didn't even start these seeds until, I want to say maybe it was late July. And these guys took off, and I was eating beans before the last frost. And if you don't know anything about the Southwest, the real heat doesn't come until late July or August. That's when it's, you know, triple digits regularly. Cowpeas, a variety of cowpea that I grew last year that did so well in the heat. It just didn't skip a beat. It's like it didn't even notice how hot it was. It's called, I am going to butcher this name, Fagiolini dell'Occhio cowpea. I'm gonna put that right there somewhere. I'm gonna put that somewhere here because I'm sure I just murdered that name. But I am growing that bean again. I don't have the seed packet. I saved seeds from last year. So now on to flowers. 2 kinds of flowers I will always grow that did so well for me here are sunflowers and zinnias. The varieties of sunflowers I'm growing this year are gold coin, which is, it's cute. It's kind of fuzzy looking, so I'm very excited to see. It only gets around 20 inches tall, so it's a shorter sunflower. I'm also growing a multi-headed sunflower this year. I didn't grow one last year. I grew those mammoth sunflowers that are really big and get super tall. And I have this red sun sunflower. I just got this at a box store. This seed packet, which I'm very excited about, I got from Native Seed Search. Native Seeds is a seed company that specializes in seeds that do well in my type of climate. So hot, desert, dry climate. They're based in Tucson, Arizona. And I haven't purchased a whole lot of seeds from them. I believe the cowpeas that I got were from them, and I'm gonna link them down below. But this sunflower, I had seen on the side of the road, about 2 hours north of here is the Gila National Forest. And me and my better half we're going camping for the weekend, and these were all over the side of the road in the middle of the summer. And I was like, who planted sunflowers in the middle of nowhere? So I never knew what these were until I found them on Native Seeds, and they are desert wildflowers. They are a wild sunflower. They're actually considered invasive in some parts of the state. I hope they're invasive. I want them to invade my land, you know? What else? Okay, so I started some black hollyhocks. Very excited about these. I had excellent germination on these. These are from Baker Creek, so we're gonna see what they look like later. also tried to grow some straw flower. I got these from a local store. I had 0% germination on these. I don't know what I did. I really was excited about these, but I can't grow them yet. Okra. I've had okra before, fried okra, and I really like it. I've never cooked with it. And I grew it last year, and I ended up not harvesting it on time because they grow really fast. So I didn't eat any last year when I grew it, but it grew very, very well. So I'm growing it again this year, and I'm gonna be more purposeful with my harvesting. Zinnias. I love zinnias. They did super, super well. I thought they were going to suffer in direct sunlight because I did not have them under a shade cloth last year, but they loved it. So I'm growing a ton of zinnias this year. A few varieties I have are the Envy. It's an all green variety, beautiful. This was a free seed I got from Baker Creek. This is the polar bear zinnia. It's a white dahlia type flower. This is I got this at a big box store, but this is the candy cane zinnia. Isn't that gorgeous? Y'all, don't mind my hands. I have gardener's fingers. This is the variety I grew last year in my garden, and it did really well. This is the whirligig mix. So these are last year's seeds, but I had no problem with germination. Other flowers, I'm growing some cosmos, Bright Lights Blend and Rosetta. These are from 2 different places. This was a big box store. This was Baker Creek. More nasturtiums, Fiesta Blend, and I'm excited about this one, Black Velvet. It says it's an intense velvety black bloom. Looks a bit red, but I'm excited to see how it turns out. Guys, I don't know how many of y'all are still here. I have a lot of seeds. All right, I'm growing 2 types of milkweed. These are hardy perennials and very good pollinators. As you know, this is butterfly milkweed. It's absolutely essential to the survival of monarch butterflies. That's what the seed packet says. I don't know. I haven't done any research, but that is super cool. I did get good germination. They're probably going to be slow growing, but I'm excited to see how those go. This is another desert wildflower I got from Native Seeds. It's called Firewheel. You might know it more commonly as blanket flower. It's really, really gorgeous. I've had excellent germination with these, and they're all thriving. I'm excited to see how these go, and I hope they reseed themselves. Marigolds, always gotta have marigolds. They do very well here. Snapdragons, 0 germination, and I ended up just buying like 3 6-packs at the store. Black-eyed Susan vine, I'm very excited for this. It's gonna be an annual here. It gets too cold, but it is treated as an annual in most places. So I hope it grows really quickly, and I'm excited to show you guys what it looks like when it fills the trellis. All right, last but not least, here are all the herbs, both medicinal and kitchen herbs I'm growing this year, or trying to grow. I didn't have germination on some of these. Blue spice basil. Guys, if you have not crushed this between your fingers, if you have not smelled this basil, I have so many recipe ideas. It's such an interesting, I can't describe it. I can't. Lemon balm, 0 germination. I don't know. Lime basil. Did I get any? 0 germination. On this lime basil, I had 0 germination. The blue spice, I had good. Dill, I'm growing dill. I only have 1 plant of dill. I don't think, I tried to grow it last year, and it did really, 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 really badly with the wind because it's so frail. So I don't think it's gonna do very well. I didn't spend too much time trying to start these. Calendula, must have. I plan on making salves with beeswax from the bees that I'm gonna have. Coreopsis. Coreopsis, I didn't have very good germination with this. I have a couple plants, so we'll see how it does. Borage. I have not started any of these yet. The recommendation is to direct sow, and I haven't seen any videos where people are trying to start them inside, so I'm just gonna sow this in the garden when it gets warm enough. Yarrow, I had good germination. I've already transplanted some of these out along with the calendula. They are frost hardy. So I started them earlier than my summer plants and then transplanted them out about mid-March, and they've survived and done just fine. Calendula again. Chamomile, I also started early and have already transplanted outside. It is also frost hardy. It is doing fine. The toothache plant, very, very cool plant. If you guys haven't done any research on this plant, it's very, very interesting. So I tried to grow it this year. I didn't direct sow. I started seeds last week and nothing has germinated yet. I really hope it does, because this isn't something you can find in stores. Even a nursery that I go to about 45 minutes away that does do some interesting vegetables and herbs, you can't find this started anywhere. So I really, really need to figure out how to start this so I can actually get plants off of it. Well guys, I think that's all of them. If you're curious about how I organize my seeds, let me show you. So I still need to buy one of those. Photo boxes that everyone's talking about from Hobby Lobby or whatnot. But for now, it's a photo album. But it holds them perfectly. And I can just see what I'm gonna miss my photo album when it's gone, but I have way too many seeds. I mean, this is almost full and I still have, guys, I have a lot. I have like a lot of seeds. If you live in a desert and you're looking at my seeds and you're like, how are you growing some of these plants here? They don't do well in the heat, and you are 100% right. The basil that I started, the blue spice basil, just hardening it off during the day because it's been up to 88 degrees out here, it started to flower and I had to pinch it off the top. And this is barely a start that I haven't even transplanted on the garden. So yes, some of this does not thrive. I have taken certain precautions. We're able to afford a very large shade cloth that I am putting over a large portion of my raised bed garden. So that's gonna cut down on the heat from the direct sun. Also, I'm going to plant intelligently. You know, you can use large plants to shade out, you know, plants that may not do well in that late afternoon heat. By taking certain precautions and mulching my plants and watering regularly, I can extend the season for some of these. Yes, they won't do as well. Yes, some of the herbs may bolt, but it doesn't hurt to try. And there's so much potential in this seed pack, but there's no potential if you don't buy it and try it. So it doesn't hurt me to try it, and I will find plants, and you will find plants that you don't like to grow here, like the tomatoes that I described earlier. If they do poorly again, I might not grow them, but the point is to find things that work for your area. And that can be done by asking, by reaching out to your community, getting involved in local gardening clubs, Facebook groups, etc., asking other people what works for them. And most of all, just trying it yourself. What may work for someone 20 minutes away in the same city may not work for me. And that's why I'm encouraging you all to go out and just buy the seeds and just try it. And maybe if it doesn't work for you, it was a fluke year. Try it again next year. Give it a couple times before you just throw in the towel and say no. Never hurts to try. So thank you all for joining me. I will put together a garden tour soon. It's pretty bare. I will put together a garden tour soon and an intro video. But thank you.